Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 9 of the Christmas Craft Countdown, where I'm sharing 20 brand new Cricut paper crafts to make over 20 days. Today's project is this lovely stained glass nativity scene. I've used window cling for the little gaps. You can see it's sort of see-through, and this is so hard to show on camera, but when the light shines through it, especially if you put it up against a doorway, it gives this most wonderful kind of rainbow effect through all of the gaps, and it's really pretty. So hard to show you how it looks on the camera though. I'm trying. Hopefully you can see the little bit of sheen and shine in there. Oh, actually that kind of works, I think. You can see it there. This design has got a back built into it, so it will stand up all by itself. And to make it even more impressive, not only do we have this middle panel, but there is a left panel with the 3 wise men and a right panel with the shepherd. So you can make a full nativity scene. Each one is completely freestanding all by itself, so you can put them up however you want to display them. You don't have to use the stands. If you prefer, you could put these on a greetings card or frame them instead. So they've got lots of different options for making a wonderfully traditional nativity scene with your Cricut this Christmas. Let's get started. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the Christmas Craft Countdown at craftwithsarah.com/Christmas24. After registering, you'll get an email which contains a link to the schedule page for the countdown. Visit the schedule page to find and download today's files. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/Christmas24 bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files from the Christmas Craft Countdown, plus lots of extra bonus designs. The download comes in a zip folder. You need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into Cricut Design Space. It's like when it's loaded into Cricut Design Space. If you're not sure how to get to this stage, check out the schedule page for the Christmas Craft Countdown and then look in the Foundation Learning section near the top of the page. Within there is a link to a separate tutorial with a video on how to upload SVG files into Cricut Design Space. There are a few things I want to make you aware of this design before it gets cut out, and also we need to do a few little things to the base pieces down here. As I thought that most people probably wouldn't have the window cling material that I'm using for my nativity windows to go in the top sky pieces here, what I've done in the design is make them a solid colour instead that kind of blends in with the other colours in the design. So if you don't have any of the window cling or anything to use in its place, cut it from these colours of cardstock instead, and your windows will still look absolutely lovely when they're all stuck together. However, if you are going to use window cling or something similar, it will work out easier to cut if you make these 3 sky pieces all the same colour. So I'm going to click on my design here over on the right in the layers panel and press the ungroup button at the top. And then we've got the 3 base pieces with the stands at the top. I'm going to look through until I find one of the colours of the sky. So this one is the blue one here. And I kind of want them all to be a really obvious colour, so I know that definitely when I'm looking at this that it's going to be my window cling. So I'm going to make it a lime green, like a real bright lime green. That way I know when I'm cutting this out, when I get to the lime green mat, that's the one to cut from my window cling. Let's look down, down, down until I find the red from the middle scene. And make that same green. These are all the same size, or so close that you wouldn't tell the difference. So I can do that. And then the same for the purple. When I'm cutting this out, I'm going to do the yellow that goes around the edge here from gold. It will really help to make it look more like church windows with the gilding around the edge if you do it in shiny gold. But again, if you don't have that, just a yellow card is absolutely fine. One more thing that needs changing, even if you're not going to be using the window cling, is to format the score lines on the base pieces. I'm not quite sure why this piece in the top of the king's image isn't showing as cut out. It should be showing like these other two, but I have test cut it and it still cuts it out. So I will try and fix it before you get the file. But if you do end up with it looking like this filled in, then don't panic because it does still cut how it's supposed to. To format the score lines, make sure you have ungrouped your whole design if you haven't already. Remember, I've already done that because I did it in order to change the colours. So I've clicked on the first one. See, it's highlighted here in the layers panel. Click on the little arrow that appears next to it, and then click on the kind of diagonal line in there. Under operation, change it to score. Then click to select the whole group of those two layers. So I've got my pink and the score line, and press attach. Attach is what joins the score line on and tells the Cricut where to do it. If you don't have a scoring tool or stylus for your Cricut machine, you can delete the score lines instead. And we need to do the same for the other two. So let's click into here. Click on that single diagonal line. If you're going to delete it, you could just press the trash can icon up here. But I will change it to score. And then click the group over here to select both of them. And attach. And then one more on this one. Click that diagonal, change it to score, and then click to select the whole group and attach. The only other thing you might want to do is to change the size of these before you cut them out. Now by default I've got them cutting at 10 inches tall, which is a really nice size to really make an impact when it's out on display, but you may wish to make it bigger or smaller. Just bear in mind if you're making it bigger and you're on a standard size Cricut mat, you are limited to 11.5 inches tall. The easiest way to resize it is to first group each individual window. So I'm going to drag a box around all of these shepherd pieces and group them. And then do the same for the Mary and Joseph one. Group them. And then do the same for the kings. Now that these are grouped, it means I can move them about and all the pieces will stay connected. We don't need to group these ones because we've already attached the score lines to them, which kind of does the same thing, at least close enough for what we need to do next. All right, now I'm going to press select all and then align, center. That's put everything one on top of the other. So now I can resize it really easily. Make sure the padlock icon above the width and the height box is closed. Zoom in again so you can see. And let's say I was going to make it bigger and go 11.5 inches. And then my width changed in proportion. So now I've still got everything here, but it's all changed size at the same time to make sure everything's still going to match up when you've cut it out. If you do change it to 11.5 and then you start seeing error messages about it being too big for your Cricut, then try again and resize it to 11.4. Sometimes if you go right up to that maximum amount of 11.5, Design Space has a little moment and thinks you've made it too big. But if you make it 11.4 instead, then it should get rid of any errors if they are appearing. All right, I'm going to just undo all those changes and bring mine back to 10 inches tall. That's the size that I want to cut it at. Let's just keep undoing. There we go. So next you could save this if you want to with the save button up here and then click on make to start the cut process. You can change the paper size if you want to in here. For example, I usually use A4. And then you can drag and drop to move things about to take up less space. Just make sure when you're doing it that nothing overlaps, otherwise it won't cut out properly. There are a lot of weird shapes on this because, as I said at the beginning, this is a slightly different approach to how I normally do my layered cardstock designs. I wanted the windows to end up still looking really flat to give that stained glass window appearance. So rather than cutting big pieces of card and layering them up one on top of each other, instead we'll be placing the little pieces in the cutout of the window leading, kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, like one of those kids' wooden puzzles where you match the shapes to the cutouts, which is why some of these bits are looking a little bit weird and really small. It's a great idea to get a little pot or bowl, a kitchen bowl, something like that, a breakfast bowl or a little plastic tray, a takeaway container, anything like that to put all your pieces in as you're cutting them out so that you don't lose any. Because especially things like this little bit in the shepherd's hat, it's really, really small and you don't want to be losing those pieces. And actually, I just said that was the shepherd's hat. It's not. It's actually Joseph's headdress, not the shepherd. Anyway, all right, so we've also got the other pieces here. So these black ones, this is what we're going to be sort of putting all the other little shapes into when it's cut out. But just a few things to bring your attention to. Here are the bright green bits that I'll be cutting from my window cling. I tested this on a few different settings and the acetate setting worked really well for me. That was cutting with a Cricut Maker and I just used the regular blade that comes with the machine to do that. The window cling does come with a backing sheet on it. I tried cutting it both with and without the backing sheet on when it went on my mat. It cut on the acetate setting just fine both ways, so it's up to you which way you want to do it. And then for the bright pink, which is my back pieces that will become the stands, these will work best if they're cut from craft board or something similar, or just a really thick cardstock. These have got to take the whole weight of the whole design on it to make it stand. So by doing these back pieces in something a little bit thicker, that is a good idea. Craft board is fine though, you don't need to kind of cut it from basswood or anything like that. Just craft board or a really thick cardstock will work just fine. Alright, so that is everything in Design Space. Go ahead and get all your mats looking as you want them to. This is a great project for using up some of your card scraps from other projects because a lot of the bits of colour, you'll only need a few tiny little pieces. The real challenge on this project is working out which shapes go with which picture when everything's cut out. When you're happy with how everything's looking in Design Space, press continue down the bottom and then follow the on-screen instructions to get everything cut out, and then we'll see how to stick it all together. This is the window cling that I've used to go behind the kind of see-through bits in the sky. I got this on Amazon. It is non-adhesive window film. I just typed window cling into Amazon and picked a couple, but this is the one that I've gone with. It's called Rabbit Goo, which is a little bit strange. It comes on a roll, and here's a little bit of what it looks like. So it comes with a backing on it. So it looks, when you take it out of the pack, it doesn't look that impressive and it looks quite opaque, but it's because it does have that backing on it for protection. Once that's peeled off, then it's a lot more see-through. Trying to do it. Oh, where's a weeding tool when you need one? I've started that, and then once the backing's peeled off, then it's much more see-through. And you get that lovely rainbow effect. It does come in several different colours. You can get ones that have a more silver or a gold sheen to them. This one's kind of rainbow, which is nice. And I like the pattern on it for this project because it really does enhance that kind of stained glass look. It cuts beautifully on the Cricut too, which is amazing. To make the stand part, I'm using craft board. This is Cricut brand craft board, which I've got in this pack. They sell it in lots of different colours and different types of packs. But as this bit is only actually going to be seen if you're looking at the finished design from the back, I wouldn't use any particularly fancy colours, like any metallics or anything like that. I've just gone for plain brown because it's going to be all hidden. If you don't have any craft board, that's fine. Just use really strong card. If you've got some nice heavy card, around 300 GSM, then that will work nicely. If you don't have any thick card and you make your nativity windows and then find that they're having a little bit of trouble standing up, what you can do is recut the very bottom layers with the stand from another sheet of card and glue it on the back of what you've already made. So you would just cut this piece again that has the bit taken out of it and glue it on the back, and then it will be a bit more sturdy because you'll have two bits together. So whether you have the exact materials I'm using or not, you can absolutely still make this craft and make it absolutely gorgeous. Here are all of the pieces for the middle section of my window, which is the one with Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus and the crib. and I've got all the bits here. I've got my window cling cut out. It's still got the backing on at this point, so I'll have to take that off. And then I have a little pot with all the tiny pieces. Each of the 3 sides of the windows go together in a very similar way, so I'm only going to show you how to put together this middle one. I've already done the 3 wise men and the shepherd. You can hopefully see how that window cling looks. It's so hard to show. It's beautiful in real life. It's making little rainbows as it goes, but I just don't quite think it shows up on camera. So I've done these 2. Your download folder contains an assembly guide to show you where all the pieces go, so if you're not sure on those other 2, you can check that out. But for generally putting it together, this will be the same for all 3. Got my craft board at the bottom with the slit that's cut out, which is how it's going to stand. And then for this one, my next piece to stick on will be my window cling. And then I've got my shiny gold for this one, then the blue, then the black. Then after putting on the black, then I'll glue in all the little pieces. And this one, this middle one, has some of the smallest bits out of all of them, like this tiny piece in here. So some of those might be a little bit challenging, but we will get there. But first I'll put the window cling on, just check that's the right way around. Here's my window cling, and first I need to take the backing off. I'm just putting this a bit closer to my face so I can try and see. This is tricky. I don't have very long fingernails, so I cannot do it. I might need to resort to a weeding tool. No, I've managed to get it. I've managed to separate it. Oh, and then I let go. It's stuck together again. Ah, got it. Okay. Right, so this is the backing. We don't need that. And then this is our beautiful window cling. So I'm not entirely sure which way round to put it. I'm guessing the backing touches the bit that you would normally put straight on the window, as that's the sort of tacky bit. So I'm going to do that one facing down. Got my back piece here, and then we need some glue. Make sure you don't put any glue on the bit that's going to be folded out to make the stand. If it's easier, you can fold it out and upwards out the way. Fold it along that score line, so that you're definitely not putting the glue there. But I'm going to leave it there because it is still kind of obvious. You can see the cut lines. I'm going to do my glue all the way around the edge. And I'll also put it in the middle, just not over where the cuts are. It does mean that there won't be any glue holding it in place here, but I think it'll be okay. Not sure how much glue this will need to hold it, really. Line it up. It's going to try and curl up. I might need to press it under a heavy book or something. It'll line up exactly. You might need to pull it about and wiggle it about to get those edges nice and neat. I have not done a very good job of this because I haven't lined that up very well. Mine's coming over a little bit at the bottom, but that's okay. I can just snip it a little smaller. I'd say the top bit is the most important bit to get lined up neatly, this bit around here. If you do have what I had and it goes over the bottom, it shouldn't do, because in Design Space, you know, it all matches up, but if you haven't lined it up right, like I didn't, then snipping that bottom bit off will help. And then that's now in there. Oh, you can see it a little bit there. All those pretty details. If you didn't have the window cling, then you would just be putting on your cardstock colour for here instead. And again, just don't glue over where it's going to go over the stand. Next up, we've got this one. It'll be glued on. Just bear in mind that anything that goes where the stand is, you'll see when, if you're looking at it from the back. Depending on where you're going to put this, you might never see the back, in which case it doesn't matter at all if you're messy with your gluing. But I think what I'll do for this bit here, so it's not all flapping about, is just run a tiny bit of glue down the side and the bottom. Try and keep the glue straight so that it gives it a little bit more stability in this bottom corner. Alright, so as I was adding the glue to the back of this, my camera decided to randomly turn itself off, which distracted me. So I forgot that I wasn't going to be putting the glue over this bit, because then you'll be able to see it. So I've put glue everywhere. But that's okay. It will be the back of it. So oh dear. Having one of those days. Camera's being very picky with me at the moment. Likes to keep turning off when I'm in the middle of filming something, and then I completely lose my train of thought. So I've stuck that on, but it means now, because I didn't just put the glue down there and there, you see at the moment, you can see it all. It does dry clear, so it won't be as obvious when it's dry, but it would have looked neater if I'd have just done it there. But never mind, it's the back. You won't see it, probably, so it's okay. Next up, I've got this blue one, which will be glued straight on top. I'm trying to get the glue in some of the thinner areas to make sure they're glued on well. These are going to be our little templates for adding all the colours in. So you want to make sure they've got nice little holes to sit in, with the edges all glued down. Holding it up like this isn't very smart either. I should be nice and solid on my work surface rather than holding it in midair, because it's moving as I add the glue. But I've committed now. I think this is going to be one of those projects. You sometimes when you start making it and you think, oh no, this one's going to cause me issues. Line that one up, and I'm now pushing down really gently because I don't want my glue to smush out the sides. And then next up is this one to go on top. This time I'll glue it properly on my work surface. Once again, be very careful not to smush that glue anywhere it's not supposed to go. And then that's all of my main big pieces. I've still got the very outline, which I'll do at the end. But next, it's time to get these little bits in. You can either glue them in as you're going, one at a time, or you can lie them all in position first and then glue them once they're all in. So for example, you can sort of see where each one goes. Line them up against the hole and put them in. Some of them are a little bit tricky to see where they go, but you can follow the assembly guide or look at the screen in Design Space, and they all fit perfectly into those holes. So once it's all done, your new colours will be nice and flush and it will look really pretty. One potential problem of putting them in, like I just did there before you glue it, is they can then be hard to get out to actually glue them. I'm just using the needle from the tip of my glue, because although it is fitted in there really snugly, it won't actually stay there very long if it's not glued in. So I've got those three pieces. Let's get some glue. Try not to put your glue right up against the black, because that might mean when you put your little pieces in and press down, it smushes that glue out the sides, which we don't want. I'm just putting this in tightly as I can to get it into those holes. I find working one colour at a time was a little easier for me than just doing it piece by piece.
But of course, it's up to you, however you want to do it. This bit's very narrow. It doesn't matter if the little triangle bit comes off the bottom. You can always stick it in separately, which actually might be easier, so I'm going to break it on purpose. This is a scoring styler. I'm going to just use this to poke in. A weeding tool would probably be better. Okay, everything does fit in perfectly, but depending on your card and how thick it is, you might just need to do a little bit of squishing to get it until it fits in there. This brown card is really thick, so it's being stubborn. And then you just kind of keep doing the same thing, going round, filling in all the pieces. Watch out for the really tiny ones, make sure you don't lose them. So now I've got the arm, and let's do that first. Then I've got that bit, that's going to fit in there. Oh, that's the wrong way round, that way round. Another tip is to just line the pieces up, holding it above where it's going to go before you actually stick it, so that if you have got it round the wrong way, you notice before you put the glue on it. Otherwise, if you get glue all over the bit that you actually need at the front, then you'll have to probably recut it, otherwise it won't be very neat. What's this bit for? There. You can tell I'm doing this without checking my screen or my assembly guide. I'm just going by what I've got in front of me. I've now got all of my pieces glued in. I had planned on doing the whole thing on camera to show all of the gluing, but my camera is not behaving and keeps switching itself off for no apparent reason. So I decided to let it cool down a bit because it was feeling quite hot to the touch. And while it was doing that, I did all my gluing. You see I've got a nice gold mirror card in here from that one that was the base. You can see that window cling just starting to show off its little rainbows. And here's how it looks on the back now, where I added all that glue. You can see as it has dried clear, it's not really that obvious. It doesn't look too messy. And when it's stood up, this bit will sort of hide it a little bit anyway. There's only one thing left to do on the front, which is to add the border around there to finish it off. And this will be glued on. It's quite thin, so be careful when you add it on. There we go. I love how this kind of ends up making it look so much more like a window with that sparkliness around the edge. And then it will all stand up beautifully with that stand on the back. I can put it together with the wise men. And also the shepherd to go on the right. And then I've got a gorgeous nativity scene ready for displaying in my home this Christmas. I hope that you enjoyed this video on how to make a freestanding nativity scene with a stained glass window appearance. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and paper craft ideas. I hope to see you tomorrow for day 10 of the Christmas Craft Countdown. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Bye!